Today's Rambam, I'm going to go with a very, very famous IYUN, which is the idea of the Sheva Brochos that we do by a chasana. So the Rambam Ishus Halacha Gimel writes, "V'tzorech levarech birchas chasanim beis hachosim koydem hanisuyim v'hein sheish brachos." Those are 6 brachos, and he enumerates them and goes through the list. I'm not going to read the whole brachos. We all know them. If we don't know them, we can take a siddur and look it up. That's Halacha Gimel. So as of now, we don't have Sheva brachos. We have 6. Halacha Dalid, the im hayisham yayin, if there existed wine over there. Im hayisham yayin, if there existed wine. So then the halacha is maybe in kois shel yayin, and you bring a cup of wine, kois shel yayin, umevarach al yayin tchila, umesader es kulon al hakois, and you say all the brachos on the kois. Now what this mesader is, we'll talk about soon. V'nimtza, and it comes out, you have Sheva brachos, you have Sheva brachos. It seems like Sheva brachos is like a byproduct of the fact that you have the yayin. It's a strange lashon. We'll talk about that soon. Those who bring, besides the yayin, they bring a hadas. What do they do with the hadas? They bring a hadas for the yayin. Then you make the 6 brachos. Again, what's the hadas business over here? So there's a couple of things in this Rambam that need to be understood. First, what is the IYUN that we have over here, which is Mesader es kulam al hakois? How do you do that? Why is it the nim, so it comes out? It's 7 brachos. And also, if there's hadas, you just have a nimsa shmeina brachos. Why only 6? Halacha Ches goes on. Ve'im mevarchim bis chasanim ela ba'asara gedola u'bnei chayrim v'chosam min haminyan. The chosam is 1 out of 10. Okay, there's a chiddush in that because Rahman al-Islam by Avelim, it says Avelim are not min haminyan, and we'll talk. If we'll get into it, I don't know if we'll get a chance. The differences between them. But that's not really our discussion. Okay, the Rambam Hilchos Brochos is a similar. First of all, it's interesting because there he also enumerates the brachos, and he says the beis chasanim. This is during the week. The varchim birchas chasanim achar arba brachos elu, after the 4 brachos of benching. The whole Seuda u'Seuda sheichoshem. Every meal that you eat, you ate Berchas Chasan. Which is what's Berchas Chasan? So in Halacha Yud, this is very Beis Halacha Tes. This is very Yud, Hilchos Brachos. Beis Halacha Yud. Brochos zu shemaisi from Beis Chasan and mi brocha achreina. Listen to this. Mi Sheva Brochos on the same. From the 7 brachos on the Sheva, we just said there's only 6. Okay, he means the 6, 7 with yain. Here's a little different. He can tell me just referring to, where's the Sheva brachos? The 6. So you read, you do 6 brachos. Is he telling you need wine? Hey, he doesn't say that. You don't necessarily need wine. But here again, again, he tells you this chiddush that chasanim are min aminim. We already. Why does he tell them both places? What's the chiddush in both places? Okay, so those are the issues. Those are the problems, and we will try to figure them out. So he says that. So again, the question is in Hilchas Ishus, he says Sheish Brochos. In Hilchas Brochos, he says Sheva Brochos. Now, in Hilchas Ishus, it's mashma. You don't need wine. Yeah, bring wine if you find. And then, as we said, v'nimtza, it'll end up. But it'll only end up 7, not 8, even though you have a hodus. And then this idea of misader is kulon alakai. So where do we have such an idea? We have such an idea. Where? That idea is in Hilchas Sukkah, where we have a halacha that you make a sukkah, you have to make a shachion. But what the Gemara tells us in Rambam Pasuk is but you wait for that till the night of Sukkot when you're making a bracha on Sukkah and Azman, and you misader kol brachas al hakois. You do it all on the kois. Now it's based on a Gemara in Sukkah. And now the Rebbe explains that a person makes a sukkah, he should really make shechianu. But you don't make the bracha, even if you do it for yourself. So mitzvahs kiddush hayom, she gam kimitzah b'mazan. But why do we do that? Why not make? Why would we mishalom and brachos? We're trying to save brachos. But there, at least, there is some concept of misader hakes because you're saving a bracha. Why we're going out to save brachos? Okay, we should look to encourage brachos, not save brachos. So he says, okay. Is that we have to understand this concept, Okay, so then we wonder why does he bring in both places the idea of chasanim and aminim? Another thing, he switches gears in Hilchas Brochos. First, he says, if you have one bracha to make, which is the 7th of the 7 brachas, so he says, do it acha arba brachas ein. First, he says, after you finish these 4 brachas, then Seuda. When it comes to the Sheva brachas that you do, and there is other people, and you're doing it b'shvilam, you're making, the Rambam holds that panim chadoshos that we all know about, is for the sake of them. They weren't at the chuppah, they're going to hear it here. So there he says, Acha Birchas Hamozon. Why don't you say either both places? Say Acha Birchas Hamozon, Acha Arba Brochos Elu. What is this switching here? It's not a big kasha. The language maybe fits better, but just it's straight. Whenever the Rambam makes a change, there may be an indication of what he's trying to say. Yeah. Then he says, what is kederach? I mean, what's he doing kederach? First of all, it's not kederach. Because if there's a Perokim, it's going to be afterwards. What's the kederach? Yeah. Okay. Now, where does this whole idea that there are 7 brachas, named Sheva brachas, comes from? It doesn't exist in Shas. It exists in the Masechtas Ketanos, Masechtas Kalo Rabosi, Rapsi. There it says Kala b'lei bracha, Surah l'mayla, Kini b'shloi tavla, famous Gemara. Says which brachas? Berachas eres. Then the Gemara goes on. V'sheva brachas eichem evarachin. Oh, so I'm sorry. He's a bracha. Birchas Shiva v'lei birchas Eres. Here we have birchas Shiva. And where do you do that? He goes through the list, and he says, there's wine. Priyagofen is the first. So what do you do? There's no wine? Use beer. Or not use bread. None of this is Rambam. At least not here. Then the Gemara has a shaila. What if you didn't mix up the Seuda? Or you skipped one? The Gemara says, brachas are not ma'akim each other. Then the Gemara says, sorry, Levi ikla lebehiluli came to a chas. Ubarach shis, levar miyayin, he made a bracha without wine. You see, if you're missing, it's okay. Okay, the Gemara says matchada, but that's what it says. So, what's going on here? I saw it's brought down, obviously, because it's not in the Chidush Agris, but it's in the svarim that they have quoted from him, which is called the stencils. Mishem the Briskerov, which it's very, very clear in the Rambam, this you say, that the Rambam holds that the Sheva Brochos during the week of Sheva Brochos, we say by the Seuda, is a din in Birchas Hamazon. It's like you add it to the Birchas Hamazon. It's not that at that point you say Sheva Brochos. No, it's a din in Birchas, and the diuk is very good. Arba Brochos elu. After this, just like Birchas Aval, he says in the fourth bracha you say this. There he says no. Here you do it. Arba Brochos elu. And then later, Birchas Hamazon. Not such a deal, but Arba Brochos is much stronger. And that whole perik that he talks about there is all about Birchas Hamazon. So he said this is a din of Birchas Hamazon. It's a chelik of Birchas Hamazon. To the point that one of his sons said that although he would say a Rachman, which some people don't, but he said the Rachman after the fourth bracha. But when he was saying Sheva Brochos by a Seuda, he would stop after the fourth bracha, not say Harachman then. First do the Sheva Brochos, then say Harachman. Why? Because it's part of the Berachman. The other one is yeah, interesting approach. So, based on this, there are two IYUN. There's the Sheva Brochos of the Nisuyin, which is its own brachas, and the brachas that are a chelik of Birchas Hamazon. Again, the Lashon Rambam is very, very matim and clear that makes a lot of sense, and that's what it means. Okay. So, why the Rambam says the Lashon Arba Brochos elu, I think is very good. Because that's the way he's showing you it's a continuation of brachas from these four. After you finish these four, go on with Sheva. But where do you get Sheva? So I think that's why he switches to Birchas Hamazon. In other words, you look at the Birchas Hamazon as one, even though it's Birchas Hamazon. That's what it is. It's taken Birchos Hamazon. But it's the idea is we finished one, bro. We finished the concept of thanking the Eibishter for the Moshe, and now we go on Sheva Brochos, 6 other brachas. So what do we got? We got Sheva. It's a chiddush, but I think it works very nicely in the Rambam. That's why you hear there's 7, not because of the Birchas IYUN. Like the Birchas IYUN won't even be it. I always would tell people, and it's a joke, that we know by Chupa, Bracha Achrita is the big event, right? One of the big events. I would say the Kedushin, Bracha Achrita has a chashivas that everybody talks about. So I would always joke that by benching, the Bracha Achrita is by Priyagofen. That's the last bracha. But why is always saying here? No. Bracha Achrita remains Bracha Achrita because the first bracha is Birchas Hamazon. That was the Birchas Hamazon is considered the first bracha. You thank the Eibishter for the food. Now let's move on to the next brachas, the 6 others that are samuch with that. So theoretically, it is 11, but that the word Birchas Hamazon. That's why he switches from Arba to Birchas Hamazon. I once wrote a piece, and I was on the plane, and I was looking at what I wrote then. It's a kind of interesting concept, but I don't want to get into it. But I'm sitting next to some people, and as I'm reading, I started laughing, that I even thought of such an idea. But nevertheless, maybe I'll laugh one day about this also. So now we can understand the Kederech. What's the Kederech? That he's saying is, even though he wants to be Madgish, even though it's a Chelik of Birchas Hamazon, but it's Birchas Nesuyin. It's in place of the Birchas Nesuyin, as we know, because who's it for? It's for those who didn't have it. They never how does it have to do with Birchas Nesuyin? How are you replacing it? How are you giving them the Birchas Nesuyin? The Torah says, yes, this still has a gather Birchas Nesuyin as part of Birchas Hamazon. That's the way it was set up. We understand that. I'm sorry, in Hilchos Ishus is one discussion, and that I'm not getting into because, well, why does he say it here? And why does he say it in Hilchos Brochos? The Kiddush. What's the word of Chasan Min Minyan? They're part of the. Why are we making these brachas? You're making it for people who haven't heard, right? That didn't hear the bracha. And here we're not only doing that, we're creating a new type of Birchas Hamazon. The Birchas Hamazon use a lashon just like on Chanukah and Purim. We add this is we're adding because of, how could you make him part of that? His Birchas Hamazon is okay without this. He doesn't have any benefits from this. You already heard Birchas Hamazon. Of them is that since it's because of him, he's the chasna ultimately, so he's part of it. That's a chiddush. The chiddush is a different story. The chiddush that we're making a bracha for him, and he's part of it. Okay, just like by Avelu, we say no here, yes, we have to understand why. And that's the discussion. That's a different discussion. Okay. Now let's go back to Hilchos Ishus. And what's this l'sader habracha lakas? So the simplest thing, it's a way of organizing your brachas. No, that one doesn't work like that. That one doesn't work like that. Organizing brachas. What is it supposed to mean? Make two shechionus. Who cares? There's a mila in making the bracha together with the kais. The kais yayin enhances the bracha somehow. I don't know how, but that's the word. Oh, that's why I'm learning. That's why don't make two shechionus, make one. You misader on the kais. That shechionu on the kais is better than making another shechionu where you will get another bracha in your meya brachas or b'chlal another bracha. No, I want to be misader at kais. That's why he learns. So what happens now when I take the 6 brachas of Erison, of Kedusha, Nisuyin, and I put it on a kais? Now it's a different 6 brachas. It's now an elevated 6 brachas or enhanced 6 brachas with a yayin, misader al yayin. Oh, so that's v'nimtzah bevarach shabrat. No, there's been created a new entity, a Sheva brachas that are not that are enhanced with the kais. But there aren't 8 brachas enhanced because the Hodas doesn't enhance anything. The Hodas is only made for the yayin. So it has no shaykhs to the other brachas. So that's why he doesn't have a nimtza yeshkan chen. It's not a nimtza because he's taking account. He's an accountant. It's a nimtza. They created a new entity of 7 brachas with yayin. There's no new entity with Hodas. Hodas doesn't create anything. Now, why does he shouldn't we go looking for wine? Could be the Rambam read into the Masechtas Kala. Levi iklo lebeilu Brochos levarmiai. He didn't use wine. There's no chiyuv to do that. You don't have to create this entity. If you can, you can. This. But b'shas nesuyin, not b'shas nesuyin, but by benching, it's automatically 7. So that's why there you write 6, there you write 7. I think that works out very nicely. Could be. Zeit gesund stark. That's locher up.